Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, April 5th, 2022, 9:30 a.m. And Erica, can you start the meeting with roll call?
Commissioner Henry.
Here.
Commissioner Tedesco.
Here.
Commissioner Pinter.
Here.
Commissioner Odoricio.
Here.
Commissioner Baca.
Here. Okay, let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. I need a motion to approve the agenda, please.
Madam Chair, I would ask that we approve the agenda with one amendment, moving item I in this consent calendar to awards and presentations.
Thank you.
Second.
The motion passes 5-0. So good morning, everyone. Today we begin with a proclamation recognizing April as Stormwater Management and Flood Awareness Month. And I will go ahead and read the proclamation into the record. Whereas Adams County is a member of the National Flood Insurance Program, Community Rating System, and whereas comprehensive planning for floodplain management is important to reduce flood damage to property within Adams County, and whereas Adams County implements stormwater and floodplain management programs through the Community and Economic Development, Public Works, and the Floodplain Coordinator. And whereas the programs are implemented in accordance to the federal, state, and Adams County development standards and regulations. And whereas the programs provided services to the public, including enhanced public safety, reduced damage to property and public infrastructure, and increased opportunities for education about stormwater and flooding. And whereas the activities of the programs have allowed for a 10% discount on flood insurance for property owners within Adams County. And whereas well-informed people make better decisions and can take steps to protect themselves from flooding, such as retrofitting their homes, buying flood insurance, and planning the actions they will take during the next flood. And whereas the Adams County Community and Economic Development and Public Works have implemented a public information campaign and have created an informational webpage for residents of Adams County to access and obtain best management practices for stormwater and floodplain management. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Adams, State of Colorado proclaims April 2022 as Stormwater Management and Flood Awareness Month, signed by all of the commissioners. Okay, so we have Jen Rutter, Planning and Development Manager with Community and Economic Development, here today to provide some remarks. Good morning, Jen.
Morning, thank you. I'm speaking this morning on behalf of Greg Labrie, the county's floodplain administrator. He couldn't be with us this morning. The month of April typically marks the time of year in which the combination of the rainy season and the snow runoff from the snowmelt can cause flooding in Adams County. The Community and Economic Development Department and Public Works believe that well-informed people make better decisions, and they take steps to protect themselves from flooding by retrofitting their homes, buying flood insurance, and planning the actions they will take during the next flood. They're also more likely to support local floodplain management efforts and measures to protect the natural functions of their community's floodplain. The standard tools that we've used to deliver this message are the flood brochures that are mailed annually to our citizens and dedicated stormwater management webpage. We believe that by proclaiming the month of April to be Stormwater Management and Flood Awareness Month, it's a very important way to enhance our message of safety and mitigation measures to the public. I would also like to give a special shout out to the Public Works Stormwater Division for helping to make this happen.
Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you.
I see Public Works in the I see Public Works in the audience. Can you please stand to be recognized? Thank you so much, and thank you for all you do for the county. Do we have any commissioner comments on the stormwater? No? Okay. Thank you so much. So next we'll recognize. Next, we'll recognize April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month with a proclamation. Commissioner O'Dorisio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This proclamation reads, Sexual Assault Awareness Month, April 2022. Whereas April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month and calls attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread by impacting 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men in Colorado. And whereas rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment impacts residents of Adams County regardless of age, race, or gender. And whereas victims of sexual assault are significantly more likely to suffer from depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, chemical dependencies, and even contemplate suicide. Whereas this crime occurs far too frequently, goes underreported far too often, and leaves long-lasting physical and emotional scars. And whereas as a community we share the responsibility for supporting victims by believing friends, family, and coworkers when it does occur, and bringing perpetrators to justice. And whereas we must work together to educate the Adams County community about sexual violence, supporting survivors, and speaking out against harmful attitudes and actions impeding victims from seeking services. And whereas prevention is possible when the entire community is involved, the first step is increasing awareness through education and supporting and believing victims. It's time for all of us to join advocates and communities across the country in taking action to prevent sexual violence. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Adams, State of Colorado, proclaims April 2022 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And it is signed by all 5 commissioners. I would like to also read the supporting agencies. Supporting agencies in this proclamation include the 17th Judicial District Attorney's Office, the 17th Judicial District Probation, 17th Judicial District Sexual Assault Response Team, Adams County Department of Human Services, the Adams County Sheriff's Office, Armed Forces, Arvada Police Department, Aurora Police Department, the Blue Bench, Brighton Police Department, Broomfield Police Department, Broomfield Department of Health and Human Services, Centura Health St. Anthony Hospitals, Commerce City Police Department, Community Reach, Federal Heights Police Department, Moving to End Sexual Assault, North Glen Police Department, Ralston House, Thornton Police Department, UC Health Anschutz, Westminster Police Department, and Reaching Hope. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. We have Kim Messina, the Interim Sexual Assault Response Team Coordinator, here to provide a few remarks. Kim.
Good morning. It's so nice to see everyone in person today. So my name is Kim Messina. I'm the current interim 17th Judicial District Sexual Assault Response Team Coordinator. Thank you again for issuing this important proclamation recognizing April as Sex Assault Awareness Month. Sex assault, as we know, is a very prevalent crime. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men in Colorado have been victims of sexual violence. Although it happens far too often, it is also one of the most unreported crimes, with less than 20% of victims ever reporting to law enforcement. Many victims of this crime excuse me, for various reasons choose not to come forward with their assault. This allows perpetrators to operate in the veil of secrecy. In 2010, the 17th Judicial District Sexual Assault Response Team was formed. The Sex Assault Response Team's mission is to reduce the impact of sexual violence by providing a consistent, competent, and comprehensive response to victims of sexual assault in the 17th. In order to fulfill this mission, our approach is to utilize a victim-centered, offender-focused approach with a multidisciplinary process. In its formation in 2010, the SART with all participating agencies have formed various programs, policies, guidelines to provide our communities with the ability to engage in the criminal justice system. And we strive to hold offenders accountable and meet the needs of all victims. These various programs include, but are not limited to, the Commerce City Brighton Police Department Sex Assault Task Force, the Start by Believing campaign in both Northland Police Department and Westminster, as as well as the You Have Options program adopted by the Brighton Police Department and the Commerce City Police Department. And additionally, we have the Special Victims Unit through the District Attorney's Office. We strive to develop and provide an ongoing education of best practice and working with victims of strangulation and looking for new ways to provide trauma-informed interviews. With all of this, the 17th Judicial District SART has become a leader in the state and recognized nationally in our response to sexual assault. The SART and all participating agencies could not do this work without the support of the Adams County Board of Commissioners. It is with your support and this proclamation that you are issuing today that enables us to recognize victims of sexual assault and to take a stand in our community against sexual violence. By issuing this proclamation, you are aiding and lifting the veil of secrecy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kim. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
We also have District Attorney Brian Mason, or his designee, here to provide some remarks.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Stephanie Fritz, and I'm the Chief of the Special Victims Unit. And on behalf of District Attorney Brian Mason and the 17th Judicial District Attorney's Office, we would like to thank you for recognizing Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We appreciate your commitment to supporting survivors and eradicating sexual violence. As the proclamation indicated, many citizens of Adams County are directly and indirectly affected by sexual violence. Survivors experience long-term emotional and physical consequences as a result of their victimization. Our office has made combating sexual violence and holding offenders accountable a priority. 1 year ago, DA Mason created the Special Victims Unit, and he assigned his most experienced and talented attorneys to the unit. The attorneys handle every single sexual assault that occurs in the county to an adult. This work complements and enhances the work already being done by our Child Victim Unit, which prosecutes child sexual assaults. We work alongside our law enforcement and community partners and the 17th JD Sexual Assault Response Team, and we are striving to develop trauma-informed approaches and innovative practices to tackling this complex crime. Today and all month long, we honor survivors and continue to work year-round to raise awareness and combat sexual violence. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Next, we have Chief Paul Southard, or his designee with the Brighton Police Department, joining us today for the final remarks. And I see Matt Domenico making his way down.
Good morning. Thank you guys for having us today. The Brighton Police Department is proud to co-sponsor this proclamation of April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. The Brighton Police Department recognizes the importance of bringing awareness to the issue of sexual assault in our community, and we remain committed to ongoing efforts to improve the criminal justice system's response to investigating these crimes and holding offenders accountable. Sexual assault has long been recognized as one of the most underreported crimes law enforcement deals with. Improving the response requires all stakeholders to acknowledge that increasing the willingness of victims to report to law enforcement is the first step to holding more offenders accountable. To this end, the Brighton Police Department has worked diligently to open up access points to the criminal justice system and have implemented a number of measures that allows victims to report in the way that is right for them. The Brighton Police Department also recognizes that justice is different for every victim and is committed to providing a supportive response that connects sexual assault victims with advocates who can help to address barriers to reporting and participation in the investigative processes. Sexual assault is a community issue, and an effective response requires the participation of all stakeholders. The Brighton Police Department is proud to host the Adams County Sexual Assault Response Team. Hosting this program demonstrates the department's commitment to collaboration and identifying innovative practices and programs to combat sexual assault. The Sexual Assault Response Team continues to raise awareness about the impacts this type of crime has on our community and has contributed to Adams County law enforcement's role as a leader in this area. The Brighton Police Department has also partnered with the Commerce City Police Department and other community stakeholders in the Sexual Assault Task Force. The task force was initially funded through an SPI grant and has provided specially trained detectives and crime victim advocates who are able to effectively support victims and investigate these difficult cases. Both Brighton and Commerce City have committed to continue funding this important program, which has demonstrated success in not only increasing reporting, but also in holding offenders accountable through the criminal justice system. Thank you to the Adams County Board of Commissioners for issuing this proclamation regarding Sexual Assault Awareness Month and raising awareness on this important issue. On behalf of everyone at the Brighton Police Department, I would also like to thank you for allowing Brighton Police the opportunity to participate in this proclamation as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Comments from commissioners? Commissioner Doricio.
Thank you. It was an honor to read the proclamation today, but I would also ask any of the folks in the organizations that we listed today, either in the list that I read or the one that Kim read, could you please stand up, the folks who are working with this area? And if we could all give these folks a round of applause. I worked with some of these folks for many years, and it was an honor and privilege to work with you then, and it continues to be. Thank you.
Other commissioners? I just want to thank all the community partners. I worked with, alongside, I should say, she's a shining star for us here in Adams County and in Brighton is Kim Messina. I also worked with Matt Domenico during my time in Brighton. So I want to thank all the community partners, the District Attorney's Office, law enforcement, the Adams County Sheriff's Office that are here today. Thank you for your work that you do for all of the citizens of Adams County. We really appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Okay, next item on our agenda is public comment. Erica, do we have anyone signed up?
Item I.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Item I from the consent calendar. We have Commissioner Tedesco to read a resolution into the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, it's my honor to be able to read this resolution. It was brought forward by some community members. I want to thank both Judy Solano and Manny Solano. I also want to thank Guillermo Serna and many more that are, you know, out there doing work on behalf of the schools. We see a lot of issues going on right now and a lot of things that are being said. But as a Board of County Commissioners, I would ask that we pass this resolution, and I will read it into the record. The Board of County Commissioners for Adams County, State of Colorado, resolution supporting Adams 14 School District. Whereas Commerce City, Colorado is a vital industrial-based city in Adams County, home to working-class families of different ethnic, cultural, and linguistic backgrounds, with a predominant minority population being Hispanic. And whereas the Adams County Commissioners are proud of the historic melting pot composition of the community and appreciate the contributions of its Commerce City families to the economic and cultural health of the county. And whereas nearly 7,000 students of the Adams 14 School District mirror the diversity of Commerce City community. And whereas the Adams County Commissioners consider these students of Adams 14 School District and the schools they attend to be important assets and integral parts of the strength of the county. And whereas the academic success of the students of Adams 14 School District and the quality of their schools is of utmost importance to the county. And whereas the Adams County Commissioners acknowledge the challenges of poverty, language, acquisition that students of Adams 14 School District face daily, which affect their academic attainment. And whereas, compared to the state as a whole, District 14 has a higher percentage of economically disadvantaged students and English language learners. Nearly 90% of the students identify as a racial or ethnic minority, compared to 45% statewide. And nearly 90% qualify for free and reduced price lunch, compared to 43% statewide. And 53% are English language learners, compared to 17% statewide. And whereas the Adams County Commissioners recognize that the dedicated teachers and school leaders who have worked hard over the years to raise student scores on yearly standardized CMAS Colorado measure of academic success tests to avoid punitive sanctions by the Colorado Department of Education. And whereas the Adams 14 Board believes that all district students deserve rigorous and effective academic programming to enable them to achieve post-secondary and workforce readiness and post-graduation success. And whereas the Adams 14 Board and its superintendent endeavor to maintain the public trust through their acts and protection over the district, its students, staff, teachers, community, and resources. And whereas the state board is threatening to, among other things, remove accreditation from the district, threatening the district with reorganization, and threatening to close down the district's schools, including the district's only comprehensive high school. And whereas the state board's actions and conduct harm the district, the Adams 14 Board students, parents, and Commerce City community and other stakeholders, and whereas each of the Adams 14 Board members has been duly elected by the Commerce City voters, and whereas the Adams 14 Board and district leadership have the experience and qualifications needed to turn this district around and realize student success if the state board offers real support and partnership. Now therefore be it resolved that the Adams County Commissioners support the Adams 14 School Board and its constitutional right to local control. And be it further resolved that the Adams County Commissioners support the leadership of the district and current Adams 14 Board. And be it resolved that Adams County Commissioners strongly oppose closing any Adams 14 schools or dissolving or reorganizing the district through consolidation, as these actions would be detrimental to the entire community and harm the historic and social fabric of Commerce City. And be it further resolved, the Adams County Commissioners commit to working with the Adams 14 School District to identify the local resources and services available to address the challenges associated with poverty and second language acquisition. And be it further resolved, the Adams County Commissioners are committed to ensuring every student in Adams County, including Adams 14 students, receives the supports and opportunities each needs and deserves to do well in school and restore hope for their future. Be it further resolved that the county will provide a copy of this resolution to the Colorado State Board of Education as part of the public comment period for the April 14, 2022 hearing. I would ask that this resolution be accepted by the board.
Thank you, Commissioner. Can you help me with protocol, Heidi? So do we need to vote on this?
Yes, just vote on as you would on any other
Okay,
resolution.
perfect, thank you.
Do we need to,
Erin, could I have comments? Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, of course.
This is so important to our community in District 14. To have the state come in and actually tell us what we need to do in a state that is so locally controlled, in a district that is so needy, is a catastrophe. And I want to ask our State Board of Education to please take into consideration the demographics of District 14. These families and these children have obstacles that all of us are not even close to being aware of. Food insecurities, housing insecurities, family violence addictions. And these kind of concerns is what children bring into the classroom. It has nothing to do with the educators of District 14 who have a massive, basically a massive project or massive doing that they need to be able to work with these children and help them overcome what challenges that they bring into that classroom. And I think it is so important that when the state board takes a look at Adams 14, that they take this into consideration. And I think it's important for the five of us to definitely step up and voice our concerns about District 14, but we believe that it needs to be in the community where we find the solution. And I believe with the support of all the commissioners and our city councils, Commerce City especially, that we'll be able to do that. So I hope that they take our testimony into consideration when they make that decision. I hope the public that is now listening to this would also add to the public comment period and how important that District 14 is and what challenges they actually have and how important it is to allow the community to find that solution. Thank you. And with that, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah,
I completely echo the comments of my colleague Commissioner Henry and the resolution as read and brought to us by Commissioner Tedesco. We all, in making this motion, we're eager to make our voices heard on this because I don't think students have faced a harder 2 years than the past 2 years. And to punish a district for students having trouble meeting standards over the past 2 years, frankly, lands, to my mind, as cruel, as opposed to offering support, as opposed to offering additional resources, as opposed to recognizing that many of the parents who are, despite the free and reduced lunch numbers, the working poor of our community, working very hard but unable to get ahead, they need our support. These students, these children, their families need to know that we have their backs. And dissolving a school district after 2 years of really inconsistent schooling because the children have failed to meet grade level standards just lands us cruel. And we can do better by our students. We can offer them support. We can offer them mental health support. Frankly, we can offer them some housing stability and work to provide wraparound services that these kids need to be successful. I really hope the Colorado State Board of Ed hears our comments and would encourage any of you to submit before the comment period closes April 14th, comments in support of these young people and their families, that they deserve a school district that supports them.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Doricio?
At one point, we had local school districts stepping up to try to help District 14, and the State Board of Ed overlooked that. I think that if there's going to be a solution, it comes from the community and the family that we have within Adams County who are rallying around District 14. And so I would ask the State Board of Ed to go back and start working with Mapleton, working with 27J, working with Adams 12 to see if we can all as a community from the bottom up within the community help District 14. So I would just ask them to reconsider some of the decisions they made earlier on that excluded some of those schools from participating.
Thank you, Commissioner. I would just like to wrap up. I'm a believer in public education, graduated from local here, school district in Brighton 27J. What happened in District 14 did not happen overnight. It's not going to be corrected overnight. And I met with a candidate yesterday. Then rather than take a community resource away, because it's more than education for these kids, it is a sense of pride for the community. It's a sense of gathering, a sense of security, a sense of where we reach out as a government resource of how do we reach community? How do we get food sources to them? They have food scarcity. They have challenges that we are not aware of. And I believe that the basis and the foundation of public education begins with the family, and it begins with support. And when you have families that have struggled, as we all have in the last 2 years, whether the resource is Wi-Fi, or you have parents that are working, or you have to share laptops or surfaces, or you don't have access to teachers, or you have challenges because of language, I would like the State Board of Education to take all of this into consideration, that we can't make decisions on high, that we need to get down and we need to fortify and support schools and our students here in District 14. So with that, Erica, can you please take a roll call vote?
If I might.
Yes, one more comment from Commissioner Tedesco.
Well, no, I'll let the vote go.
Okay. Go ahead, Erica. And the motion passes 5-0.
If I might, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I just ask for one additional item. I know in the resolution it asks that we submit this prior to the comments to the State Board, but also if we could have an official copy printed out like we do the other resolutions and presented to the Superintendent of Adams 14, I would appreciate that as well.
Thank you, Commissioner. Hey, next item on our agenda is public comment. And Erica, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
We do not.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak? And I see, looks like Guillermo, if you can make your way down to the podium and state your name and address for the record. You're welcome.
Guillermo Serna, 14122 East 102nd Place, Commerce City, Colorado. I want to thank you for your consideration and the decision that you made today. It helps the district that is going to assist you in the growth potential that Adams County has within the next 20 to 30 years. The technology that it's going to take, along with that, I understand, and so does the community, because they're going to be coming in what you have worked towards since the airport was installed by previous commissioners. It's going to grow, and it's going to take a workforce. Along with that workforce, we have to get these kids that are going to come from all of this to be educated, to be able to compete for Adams County, for the jobs that they're looking at. The 50% that were graduating from District 14 will also assist because they have gone to colleges. They have got professional ideas on the answers to our children not reaching that potential, and that is education. Education is the answer to all of ills that we have in this country. And for that, I thank you. Our children thank you. And the families that have 2 or 3 or 4 jobs and are still poor, in a sense, and can't provide for their children or can't attend for their children. It's not an excuse. It's a fact. And it's up to the State Board, from my perspective, to look at that, not just what they graduate with. That I myself, migrant from Texas after World War II, okay, didn't have a chance of graduating, but my family pushed us and pushed us and pushed us. And I think that I have accomplished quite a bit with just a 12th grade education, irregardless of my grade level. But at that time, we were taken care of because everybody wanted education to move this country forward after World War II. And we have. But we have kind of put sometimes it aside as to how we need to bring up the lower level to the middle class to the upper class, and the histories that we have on how education has come up with these answers. So I thank you for your vote and your consideration, and I see my light is on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Guillermo. Good to see you. Thank
Thank
you. We have any elected officials' communication? Seeing none, I would just like to add and give a public thanks to the staff that we spent 3 days as the Board of County Commissioners, our staff, our leadership teams, of a retreat, envisioning of what does the county look like, what does the future of work look like, and I think you heard it today. And what I shared with my colleagues, and you heard it just right now at the podium, is what we call here DEI work, or diversity, equity, and inclusion. We can't do this work without access and opportunity. I also spoke about what my colleague so eloquently stated during her remarks is called multi-generational trauma. And I think you heard it right here of personal testimony of how generations of migrants push and push and push, to quote the gentleman at the podium, their students, their family members, to an education. Being poor, being in a lower class is not a choice. Sometimes it's not that we're not trying. It's not that we can't make it. Sometimes that the barriers are too great, or the persistence sometimes wavers. So I just want to thank the staff for giving me a safe place to speak. Really hit home today hearing Mr. Cerna speak, but thank you so much for the visioning session. It was 3 days well spent here at the county. Okay, next we have on our agenda is the consent calendar.
Move to approve.
Second.
Minus I, of course.
And the motion passes 5-0. So next, we have County Manager Alicia Reese for new business.
Commissioners. Our first item is a resolution approving the agreement between Adams County and Aggregate Industries, WCR, Inc., in the amount of $7,673,243.05 for the 2022 street paving program, and project engineer Jennifer Shee will present this item.
Good morning, Commissioners. The 2022 street paving program is a significant street maintenance program with approximately 73 lane miles in 4 different areas of unincorporated Adams County. These areas have been identified as priorities for rehabilitations in the county's transportation asset management system. A formal invitation for bids was solicited through BidNet. Bids were opened on March 8, 2022, and 5 bids were submitted. After verifying the unit bid prices for each company, the Public Works Department confirmed that Aggregate Industries, WCR, Inc., is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. It is recommended that the agreement with the Aggregate Industries, WCR, Inc., for the 2022 street paving program be approved in the amount of $7,673,243.05. Is there any questions?
Thank you so much. Questions from the board? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Board. The motion passes 5-0.
Our next item is a resolution approving an agreement between Adams County and A1 Chip Seal Company in the amount of $987,736.52 for the 2022 seal program, and Jennifer will assist us with this one as well.
Thank you. The 2022 seal program is an annual street maintenance program. This program will seal approximately 35 lane miles in various areas in unincorporated Adams County. A formal invitation for bids was solicited through the BidNet. The bids were opened on March 11, 2022, and 2 bids were received. After verifying the unit prices, the Public Works Department confirmed that A1 Chip Seal Company was the lowest, most responsive, and responsible bidder. The recommendation is to approve an agreement with A1 Chip Seal Company for the 2022 seal program in the amount of $987,736.52. Is there any question?
Thank you. Questions from the board? So we have a motion by Odoricio.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Commissioners, you have a vote? Thank you. Motion passes to 5-0.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. The next item is a resolution approving the agreement between Adams County and Green Dream International, LLC, in the amount of $263,640 for crushed virgin Class 6 materials, and Public Works Operations Manager Adam Ingles will help us with this.
Good morning, Board. My name is Adam Ingles, and I'm the Operations Manager for the Public Works. I'm here today to present agenda item number 3 for crushed virgin Class 6 materials. The Operations Division has implemented an accelerated gravel roads program, including alley resurfacing. These programs include mixing and blending various materials to produce surface gravel that is placed on recently rehabilitated roads, existing roads, and alleyways that have been identified by the Operations Division for improvement. By proportioning and mixing these gravels, the division can reduce costs associated with surface gravel materials. The Operations Division has identified several roads for the 2022 rehabilitation program. This requires stockpiling specific materials to reduce potential delays in shipping and manufacturing by the vendor. By reducing these potential delays, the Operations Division can execute gravel resurfacing as weather permits. Crushed virgin aggregate materials are a primary ingredient for mixtures used on medium to high traffic volume roads, and is a structural component that increases strength and load support of specific gravel mixtures. Crushed virgin aggregate materials used in surface gravels significantly improve road conditions, providing a strong, long-lasting road, also reducing muddy conditions. For these reasons, it is recommended to award an agreement for crushed virgin Class 6 materials to Green Dream International in the amount not to exceed $263,640. Any questions?
Thank you, Adam. Questions from the board? No questions today.
No questions.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you so much, Adam.
Great. Our next item is a resolution approving Amendment 3 to the agreement between Adams County and Bearcom for the acquisition and installation of equipment in the amount of $460,000 for county emergency vehicles, and Fleet Operations Manager Mike Gutierrez is here to present this item.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Mike Gutierrez, Fleet Operations Manager. In 2019, Bear Communications, Inc., DBA Bearcom, was awarded the agreement to provide and install emergency and communications equipment for all county emergency vehicles. This agreement allowed for one-year renewal options. Amendment 3 is being requested with slight increases in some parts. The labor rate will stay the same for 2022. Facilities and fleet management have been very pleased with the services that Bearcom has provided, and we would like to recommend that Amendment 3 renewal option be approved in the amount to not exceed $460,000. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mike. Questions from the board? No?
But I'll move to approve as presented.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is a resolution approving Amendment 1 to the agreement between Adams County and Denver Rescue Mission in the amount of $289,272 from the North Glebe Winter Housing Program, and Community Safety Wellbeing Manager Paulo Diaz will present this item.
Great, thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Paulo Diaz, Community Safety Wellbeing Department here in Adams County. The Northland Winter Housing Program launched in December 15, 2021, and was only scheduled to run for 3.5 months, taking us through the end of March 2022. It was designed to provide shelter for 25 residents who were experiencing homelessness, and the Denver Rescue Mission was identified as the sole source vendor chosen for this project because of the emergency nature of needing to shelter individuals, specifically during the cold weather season. I don't want to steal the City of Northland's thunder because they'll be presenting at the study session later today, but we were able to provide shelter for 84 unique participants since the program opened in December 15th, on December 15th. And so with that, the opportunity presented itself to extend the program through August 31st due to being able to use that facility, so extending it beyond another 5 months. And with that, Adams County CSWB Department and the City of Northland is requesting an Amendment 1 to extend the agreement between Adams County and the Denver Rescue Mission for an additional 5 months in the amount of $289,272. This would approving this amendment would make the total agreement amount $520,689. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulo. Questions from the board?
No.
I'm happy to move to adopt this. It was really, speaking of the retreat, it was really helpful and inspiring to see that we've prevented 8,300 nights of homelessness this year, and I know that that work is ongoing, and I thank you for all of that work, given the extreme storms and temperatures and fires that we've seen, that people have a safe refuge to go. So I'm happy to support this and all of your ongoing work.
And I second that.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Paolo.
Final item on new business is a resolution approving Amendment 1 to the agreement between Adams County and Vector Disease Control International, LLC, in the amount of $243,179 for mosquito control services, and Environmental Program Manager Katie Keefe is here to present this.
Good morning, Commissioners. Katie Keefe, Environmental Programs Manager with Community and Economic Development Department. Adams County offers mosquito control services to residents to mitigate the risks associated with mosquitoes, including health risks, annoyance, and discomfort, which primarily concerns exposure to West Nile virus. A solicitation for mosquito control services was issued in March of 2019. The Board of County Commissioners awarded an agreement to Vector Disease Control International, LLC, also known as VDCI, for an initial 3-year agreement with 2 one-year renewal options. The county has been satisfied with the level of service provided by VDCI. The recommendation before you today is to approve Amendment 1 to the agreement with VDCI for mosquito control services in the amount of $243,179 for a total 4-year agreement amount of $934,316.
Thank you, Katie. Questions from the board? I have a question. Is that a on-demand service, or is it ongoing services that the county provides?
It's ongoing. It really kicks off in May when mosquito season starts, and it runs through October. And so they have prescribed routes and trap locations, but any of our residents that call with a complaint of mosquitoes, they will respond.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Katie. And our cities do similar services?
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm happy to make this motion as well. I happened to, just a few weeks ago, run into a friend who's my age, whose mom actually got infected with West Nile from a mosquito bite, and it has just been a really long journey over many months for her family. And I always hated mosquitoes, and now I hate them even more. And, maybe you shouldn't vote from a place of hate, but it's true. I do dislike mosquitoes, and I'm very happy to see us attempting to control their population in our community.
And I'd like to second, I actually lost a friend to West Nile. So definitely know how important it is. Thank you.
Just throw out some stats. Last year, there were over 100 cases of West Nile, human cases in Colorado. There were 16 hospitalizations and 1 death. So the threat is real.
And the motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is County Attorney. Heidi.
Good morning, Commissioners. This item is not on your agenda, but I would ask that we go into executive session today pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute 246402-4B for the purpose of receiving legal advice regarding Tri-County Health Department.
The motion passes 5-0. Thank you so much, Heidi. So next up, we have the land use hearing. So do we need time to set up? Okay, so let's take a break and we'll be back at 10:30.
they got veggie chips. I like veggie chips.
Are we ready? Okay. Who is up, Alicia? We have Greg?
We will have Greg presenting on this.
All right, we have land use hearings. Welcome, Greg.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Greg Barnes with the Adams County Community and Economic Development Department. I'm presenting two cases before you. The first one, Potomac Boat and RV Storage, has been withdrawn by the applicant, so we don't need to discuss that application at all. So if you're ready, I'll move on to the second item. All right, so the second item is known as Berkeley Villas, and this land use case has two parts to it. The first part is a rezoning of 4.6 acres. The current zoning is residential 2, and the proposed zoning is transit-oriented development. This is the first such rezoning that the county has seen. In addition to that rezoning application, there is a request for a preliminary plat to create 82 townhouse lots and 8 tracts. First, let's talk about where the property is located. So properties, there's 7 in all, are outlined here in blue. It's south and east of where West 56th Avenue and Federal Boulevard come together, just south of I-76 here. Closer view shows the majority of the site is currently vacant. It does include 4 existing single-family houses, which will be part of the redevelopment. Transit-oriented development is a new concept, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So in order to qualify for transit-oriented development, you have to be within a half mile of 2 selected transit stations in the county. This property outlined here in purple is the location of the Federal Clear Creek Station. And as you can see, the subject property is down here at the bottom of the screen, and it is within a half-mile boundary of that site. Transit-oriented development is intended to encourage urban growth patterns and multimodal transportations for pedestrians, bikes, vehicles. It can allow a mix of uses and is intended to have an attractive streetscape. It's important to note that this particular request is just for townhouse development. Currently, the property is zoned residential 2. This allows for single-family houses and duplexes. The overall site's 4.6 acres, and the maximum amount of density that this site could get out of an R2 zoning is about 56 units in all, but that wouldn't include roads and drainage opportunities, so that number might be high. The applicants are proposing 82 units in all with TOD zoning, and that would change the zoning map, if approved, to look like this. The county's comprehensive plan has designated a future land use of urban residential, and that indicates an area where the county would like to see residential uses at urban densities, which would be consistent with the applicant's proposal. When reviewing a rezoning and a preliminary plat, there are certain criteria for approval that the development standards for Adams County does list out. That includes consistency with the comprehensive plan for both applications, that both applications are consistent with the purpose of the development standards, that the subdivision plat conforms to the subdivision design standards, that the subdivision plat has sufficient water supply, adequate sewage disposal, mitigation of any geologic hazards that are identified, and adequate drainage to support the subdivision. Both applications require compatibility and harmony to the surrounding area, and the rezoning is looking for compliance to the specific zone district standards that is being requested. With TOD zoning, as I mentioned, the property must be located within a half mile of a selected train station. And with a TOD rezone, there is a requirement for a TOD sketch plan. This is a conceptual site plan, and there's language in this part of our development standards that does allow the Director of Community and Economic Development to bring a formal site plan with the building permit back to the Planning Commission if it is substantially different than what was presented at the rezoning process. Multimodal transportation is a big consideration for this zone district, and unlike other zone districts, there's a minimum density instead of a maximum. So the minimum density is 12 units per acre, and the applicants are proposing around 18 dwelling units per acre. The TOD sketch plan, which was provided with this application, is shown here. It includes the 82 townhouses and pedestrian connectivity and streetscapes throughout the development. There is a playground and a flex lawn located here. This is where the site drainage would be located. The applicants have also included a lot of landscaping and existing or seating areas that could be located throughout the development. With that TOD sketch plan, there's a requirement that building elevations be included. The Adams County Development Standards is very specific on attached single-family uses like townhouses, in that there is a requirement, which is listed here, that does state that single-family attached structures within a row of townhouses need to be distinctively different. So the picture shown, each unit kind of has a different facade. This was a sticking point during the review. We went back and forth with the applicant a little bit on this. Ultimately, the applicant decided this is the elevations that they wanted to put forth with this application. We did present this to the Planning Commission at the hearing, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. The preliminary plat is shown here. There would be the 82 lots for each townhouses and private streets, which would include tracks. Showing what the site looks like. So this is 56th Avenue looking to the east. The subject property is off to the right here. This is looking to the west. It's off to the left. This is across 56th. There is a rather undeveloped piece of land here. I think there's a single-family house on it on several acres. And this is looking into the site from 56, so this is where the development would be located. During the referral period, we notified all property owners and residents within 1,000 feet. We sent 471 notices in all. We received 3 comments. One comment was just about private property issues that I think that was settled out. Another comment was related to the potential that this type of development could ultimately lead to less affordable housing in the area. And then there was also a concern that this proposal is too dense and could ultimately increase crime in the area. During the referral period, we also notified all referral agents that have boundaries within a mile of this district. We didn't receive any objections to this application, but a few of them proposed conditions for us. The Planning Commission heard this case on the 24th of March. There were 2 members of the public present to talk about this case. Those members of the public identified that there's high crime in the area, and they identified that there is a steep grade on 56 heading toward Lowell that could inhibit multimodal transportation. The Planning Commission did have concerns that this type of development could increase gentrification in the area. They were concerned about pedestrian and bicycle mobility to the transit station. And then the Planning Commission did make the determination that the building elevations did not fully comply to that standard within the TOD regulations. Ultimately, the Planning Commission voted 5-1 to recommend approval of these applications with 13 findings of fact, 6 conditions, and 10 notes. I do have those available on a slide if you'd like to see them. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. So, any questions from the board for staff? Is the applicant present, and would you like to do a presentation? Okay, come on forward.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Commissioners. I'm David Clock with the True Life Companies, and I'm joined here today by my colleague Mark Foster sitting behind me. Our focus as a company is to formulate forward-looking solutions to new housing options for the communities in which we live and work. This is our first time before the Adams County Board of County Commissioners, so I would like to tell you a little bit more about our company. Coloradans, and particularly those within the metro area, are in dire need of attainable housing. We have all seen and read the statistics. A healthy community provides a diverse housing supply that meets the needs of many people, which would include teachers, service members, retirees, first-time homebuyers, and the like. TTLC believes in delivering attainable missing middle housing to the market. To achieve this, we focus on urban residential locations that promote multimodal transportation, dense infill development, connectivity to open space, access to recreation, and proximity to major employment hubs. When we are successful with our project goals, we can develop and deliver a project that withstands the pressures of time and seamlessly fits into the existing neighborhood. With this focus in mind, we have found several great projects in Adams County. We are inspired by Adams County's work and commitment to creating a vision for community investment near transit stations in ways that improve equity and opportunity. The Adams County Balanced Housing Plan states, and I quote, "There is a growing population, in parentheses 18.4%, of new families and young professionals in Adams County preferring missing middle type units, i.e. condos, townhomes, duplexes, small multifamily dwellings, etc. Providing missing middle housing presents an opportunity to increase housing options for a variety of income levels." End quote. We too, at True Life Companies, recognize this need to provide more diverse housing options, and especially in areas where residents can also benefit from broader transportation options, including public transit. Whoops. Because we are new to working in Adams County, we identified a team with local knowledge, experience, and positive working relationships. Our team members include Norris Design, led by Eva Mather, who unfortunately could not make it today, HKS, led by John Stafford, Kristen Sullivan with Foster Graham, Milstein, and Kalsher, and Doug Heaton with KTGY. Excuse me. As you can see, our project is near the intersection of 56th Avenue and Federal Boulevard in the Berkeley neighborhood. Our interest in this project is largely based on its inclusion within the Adams County Making Connections Plan, which identifies this area as the Triangle of Opportunity. The county's comprehensive plan designates this area for urban residential land uses, and we recognize the desire of Adams County to enhance the federal corridor. We understand that Adams County has been working for more than a decade to encourage community investment near the RTD transit stations and along the transit corridor of Federal Boulevard. We see the vision too and want to be a part of the growth in Adams County. As you know, there are great assets in this neighborhood, including Regis University, the Clear Creek Trail, Clear Creek Park, transit service on Federal, and as well as along the G line, proximity to nearby employment centers, and easy connections to the metro region from this area. In looking for a project that aligns with our company's mission, we identified some infill land with R2 zoning along 56th Avenue. The current zoning, as earlier mentioned by Mr. Barnes, is R2, which would allow for duplexes. However, in early conversations with staff, they indicated their support to rezone properties in this area to the county's TOD zone district. That is designed to encourage compact development with high-quality urban design. While the county has seen some applications that are based upon the principles of transit-oriented development, this application is the first rezoning to this zone district. The purpose of the zone district is to provide opportunities for increased transportation mode choice, reduce reliance on the automobile, and create a safe and pleasant pedestrian environment. The zone district regulations help ensure an attractive streetscape, a functional mix of contemporary uses, and provision of amenities that support the use of transit, bicycles, pedestrians, and facilities. I would now like to introduce Kristen Sullivan to walk you through our site plan and some of the other project specifics. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kristen Sullivan with Foster Graham Milstein and Callister. I've assisted the applicant with processing this application. As David mentioned, Eva Mather is not able to be here today. She's with Norris Design, and she's helped lead the site planning and design of the project. So I'll be covering some of the material for her, and she wishes she could be here and says hello. As David mentioned, we're excited to be the first application to request rezoning into this new zone district, which is the TOD zone district. We're going to just walk through some of the amenities and some of the decisions that led to this site plan that you've seen several times today. The site plan meets the TOD requirements of a minimum of 12 dwelling units per acre. It comes in at about 17.7 dwelling units per acre. We wanted to meet the county's TOD goals by providing homes that have the compact urban growth and attractive streetscape that David mentioned, and also are further outlined in the code. This is an alley-loaded townhome project. As you can see, there are garages that are accessed by these alleys, and the buildings in the front of the facades either face these green courts or face the street. And the building orientation is a major element of some of those guidelines in the TOD zone district, and helps create kind of that front porch where eyes are on the street, creates safety and creates community where people get to know each other in their neighborhood. So in those green courts, there are common spaces. Neighbors can spill out and connect. There are seating areas planned in those green courts. I know that parking is always something that we're particularly focused on when we look at a project like this. And it's interesting because the TOD zone district has maximum parking regulations, which is a little different than what we're used to when we look at residential development. So the maximum is 2 spaces per unit, and that is exactly what we've provided in the site plan here. Some of that's provided in the garages, and there's also on-street parking provided in front of the townhomes. I'm going to go to the next slide here to talk a little bit about the amenities that are provided here in the site plan. So as you can see, there are 2 access points indicated with the blue asterisk into the site from 56th Avenue. And then there will be substantial amenities in terms of the streetscape provided along 56th Avenue. There's a clear space up there with seating and a wide sidewalk that exceeds kind of the standard sidewalk width that would be provided if it was not TOD zone district. There are gathering places and open spaces provided here on the west side of the site plan. There's a playground facility, a shelter with barbecue pits and bike racks planned. The detention area, as David mentioned, is here along the western property line, which provides a nice buffer between the commercial use that's planned directly next to our site. To the south of the playground is a flex space which has a lawn, so you could walk your dog there, have a picnic, a play space for kids that want to play sports. And so again, those help provide that buffer between the adjacent land use. There's a Maverick Gas Station proposed here, so we've just sort of ghosted in what their site plan is, and there's been a significant amount of coordination with what they have planned and with what our team has planned. And there are some potential connections in between the 2 sites, as well as potential connections into the neighborhood. And that is one of the concepts too in the TOD zone district, is to try to be connected to the community. And so we've worked closely with the staff to design a site that envisions a long-term future where over time some of those connections could be made. They're not necessarily proposed. Of course, some of those are into people's private property, right? But over the long term, those opportunities can exist based upon the design of this site plan. The site plan that you see exceeds the requirement for open space. The open space requirement is 20% of the site, and this is 28.4% open space. Internal and then external walkability is an important element of TOD too, to make sure that it's comfortable, safe, and pedestrian friendly. That's really the most important theme of the TOD regulations, and so this is one of the required submittal items to show circulation and how connectivity is provided internally in the site. So there's sidewalks throughout, as well as that clear space that I mentioned along 56. Sidewalks will be ADA accessible, of course. This connection point that I mentioned is possible here with Maverick that will kind of continue to be refined as the site plan progresses and the development process progresses, but that's an opportunity there. And then just wanted to mention, in case you might have a concern about maintenance, all streets, sidewalks, and landscaping will be owned and maintained by a homeowners association. And so it's proposed that the site will be self-sufficient in terms of maintenance and not a burden on Adams County. So finally, I wanted to show you some community perspectives. So just to give you some context, we're going to walk through perspectives that show you a little bit of the architecture and streetscape of the project from these 3 points. So this is perspective number 1, looking from the north side of the site internal to the site. Perspective number 2 shows you a little flavor of the playground and park space and how the homes are oriented towards these internal streets to create that sense of community and allow people to kind of watch over the park. And then perspective number 3, the townhomes. And we'll continue to work with staff on that condition of approval that was added by the Planning Commission to ensure that we fully comply with the architectural requirements of the zone district. So we're at preliminary plat right now, and we intend to continue to work on that and make sure that we're in compliance with that to the satisfaction of the staff. We also had some comments at Planning Commission about walkability and connections to the transit station. As you know, that half-mile circle allows the eligibility of rezoning into the zone district, and our site is not directly adjacent to the transit station, of course, but there are sidewalks that do connect from our site all the way to the federal station. Could the sidewalks be better? Yes, they could be better. I think we're all well aware of that, and Adams County's actually, in fact, done a lot of the planning to improve mobility, safety, public health, transit options along federal. As development projects are proposed, each one of these provides an opportunity to further implement that vision. And so, as I mentioned, the streetscape along 56 will be improved with our project. We understand there's some development proposed in this general vicinity. That'll be another opportunity to further improve the sidewalks and connections. So that last mile connection to the station is, of course, critical to getting people to take transit. As you know, you can take the 31 bus on Federal. It just takes a couple minutes to go from 56th to 60th, so that is one option. People who are biking can always take walk or bike through the Berkeley neighborhood and jump onto the Clear Creek Trail, which then takes you up to the transit station. And as you probably recall, Adams County worked on a very challenging capital project on 56 to add sidewalk on both sides of the street, so that's been fully completed. Worked closely with neighbors. As you know, putting sidewalks in a neighborhood that hasn't historically had sidewalks can be challenging, but that was done about 5 years ago, and this project will just further build upon those improvements that were done by the county. So each project does provide more and more opportunities to make it more walkable and more pedestrian friendly, and we're excited to be a part of that and excited about all the work that the county, together with CDOT, RTD, and some of the cities have done and continue to do along Federal. Wanted to just briefly touch on compliance with the adopted plans. Both of our applications, the preliminary plat and the rezoning, require demonstration that we comply with these plans. And in fact, these plans have inspired the project. As you know, the list of plans is long here because Adams County has continued to build upon this vision. Starting back in 2007 and 2009, after the voters approved fast tracks, Adams County took a strong lead in creating that vision for what the Clear Creek Valley looked like and how those transit stations could transform this area over time. And then further, through the county's comprehensive plan in 2012, that's what inspired the creation of the TOD zone district. As the update to the comprehensive plan continues, we expect that some of the transportation planning that's been done along Federal will be carried forward into that connection between the land uses that are possible here and the transportation investments that you all have made and that the region has made and voters have made. Projects like this are possible because of that vision, and so we feel that we are certainly in compliance with these plans, and in fact are excited to see them be further implemented with projects like ours. Just to close here, the approval criteria in summary between the rezoning and the preliminary plat, they're similar. They require finding that our project is consistent with the comprehensive plan, consistent with the purpose of the regulations and of the zone district standards. It's compatible with the neighborhood. And then in terms of the plat, there's some technical requirements that we've satisfied, as you might see as evidenced in the staff report, related to water and sewer and drainage and things like that. We'll be back if we receive a positive approval for you. The next step will be final plat. So this project does come back to the board for an additional approval. And with that, we'd be more than happy to take questions. Thank you very much for your time, and I also just want to say thank you very much for the staff and all of the time that they've put into this. I want to say that their encouragement to rezone into the zone district, I think, was very well received by the True Life companies, and the staff worked really hard to help the True Life companies understand these zone district regulations, because they have not yet, unfortunately, have not yet been utilized in Adams County. And I think there's further opportunities, and we're excited to demonstrate that it is possible to develop in the zone district. So thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to answering any questions.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. And we do have a couple commissioners. First one is Commissioner Tedesco.
Are you walking away?
I thought maybe there were no questions.
I just have a few questions. First off, I just wanted to say thank you for what you're doing. I think that, all these improvements are great. And, anytime we get, some middle income housing, I think that's absolutely amazing. But I would ask, what's the proposed price point of these?
Yeah, I'll have David come up and answer that.
Sorry.
Hello, Commissioners. We have not established exactly what the price point will be. We're probably at least a year and a half, probably 2 years out from construction. But our company is focused on that missing middle. So these will not be luxury units. We call them market rate, not luxury and not a subsidized affordable. So in the middle. But really, it'll be the market that bears out the pricing ultimately for the units.
All right. Doesn't answer my question, but, I do appreciate the attempt. It's probably early on in this, but, market rate now is not attainable housing. That's one of the issues that we have with attainable housing, is that market rate doesn't promote that. And so that was the reason for that first question. The second question is we have a tremendous amount of parking issues in that area, and we're expanding a parking program within Adams County that doesn't cover that area. Now, I understand you said that there's an HOA. Is the HOA covenants going to cover the parking in that area? And the second part of that question is, if so, what happens a lot of the time is that parking is pushed out into the adjoining neighborhoods. And we want to know, or at least I would like to know, is there a willingness on your part to work with our parking enforcement to ensure that, that's not abused or pushed on to the neighbors if it's not allowed within the community?
I'll first answer that yes, we're more than happy to work with whomever it is to enforce parking so that it's not an issue out there. The HOA will obviously be in charge of the internal parking, but we can work with the county and city and whoever we need to if there's signage, other things of that nature that would help enforce parking. That would be my...
Yeah, absolutely. I think all those things are true. Certainly the HOA is a good tool and will be a partner to the county to help address any issues that come up. And I just wanted to also mention that there are 161 spaces provided, which is 2 spaces per unit. And so that's the maximum that we're allowed to provide. So we have tried to provide as much on site, and then if there are any off-site issues, we would certainly be very eager to work with the county staff to find ways to address that with internal management controls.
No, and I appreciate that. It's just with a lot of times with the HOAs, they are very good at, enforcing their rules within the HOA, which negatively affects those that are maybe on the opposite side of the street that aren't part of the HOA. And so, with 56th Avenue being a high trafficked, I didn't even say that right.
Gotcha.
Thoroughfare. I just want to make sure that we're addressing all the impacts that could be possible with this, because as you well know, 2 spaces are probably good for some families, and some families need 3 or 4. So that's why I was asking.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner O'Dorisio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm looking through this. First of all, I want to thank you for, a lot of times, we complain that we're not living out our vision of those plans, and I appreciate you saying that the plans are what inspired this project, because this is exactly what we've talked about in 8, 10 of those plans. If you pull up that list, I thought that was a smart move, because it shows that we're actually trying to make some progress towards those plans, and I appreciate that. So, 2, 4, 6, 8 plans that have talked about something like this for a long time. So I appreciate you advancing that and being part of that. And I imagine that the success that you have here will also determine the success and risks you're willing to take in future investments in the area. So thank you for that. Thank you for conceding on the issue of the architectural requirements and the facades. Because this is the first one, we have to do it right. And if we start with lowering the bar, everyone will lower the bar. So thank you for that concession and working with our staff. That means a lot. The other thing I want to thank you for is the sidewalks. I mean, you've hit a lot of these issues, and Chaz, and make sure I didn't ask these questions, I'm sure, because he knows I'll always ask about parking, and I'll always ask about price points. So you really hit a lot of the issues. I don't think we got a good answer on the price point, but I think it makes sense that the market is changing so much that we're going to have to see. How many bedrooms are going to be in each one of these?
There'll be a combination of 3 to 4 bedrooms.
Okay. So I think that the more diversity we have within the program.
Sorry. I had to refer back to my architect. He's indicating some will actually be down to the 2-bedroom size.
Okay. And that actually makes me feel better, because what we're learning is that when you create more diversity within the housing options, within the subdivision, you do address the different price points as well as lifestyles. So I appreciate that as well. The big one for me is parking. And as long as you guys are willing to work with folks, I think you've handled a lot of the issues. And I think that the issue of crime that was brought up by one member of the public, I actually think will actually be addressed with more people around. It actually does help. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the site design is intended to create more community safety by having that building orientation towards the street and internal towards those courtyards, activity, and having more people moving in and out can sometimes be a crime prevention as well. So.
Right. So I'll wait and hear what some of the other questions are, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Henry.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. Just basically a comment in regards to the price point. I get it. I just bought a house and sold a house. In a matter of only 5 months, the house I currently live in went up $100,000. So I get it when it comes to the price point, not being able to give us, especially in this market, a definite price point. So thank you for that. Now, in regards to the bedrooms, is that 2 to 4 bedrooms per unit, or is that 2 to 3 bedrooms per unit?
Would you mind if I bring my architect up here?
Yeah. This is your last line? Just saying, it's your last line.
Thank you.
Good morning, commissioners. Yes, the mix is 2-bedroom, 2-bath, up to 3 or 4 bedroom, 3.5 bath, and the square footage is around 1491 to 2129.
Okay, great, thank you. Like the other commissioners, and parking usually isn't my thing. I'm all about TOD and encouraging people to take the bus and high density, but when you go up to 4 bedrooms, you got to count on at least 3 cars. I mean, it is what it is. We're not Denver. We don't have the bus system that Denver has. So yeah, I also share a concern, not enough to vote against your project, but definitely just kind of letting staff know it's concerning, because I have 2 cars and I live a half a mile from a station. So I get it. So, but I do support the project. It looks like a great project. I appreciate you coming to Adams County for the first time. Hopefully it won't be the last. Appreciate the high density and the infill project. It is definitely several of my points. I appreciate it a lot. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Tedesco?
So I had one last question.
Sure.
You know, I think all of us are aware of parking. All of us ask them. There's not just one person that asks this. The other question I have though is lighting, because in any of this stuff that we talk about here, I don't see any lighting. And when we see the comments from the public about safety and security, and especially with those pocket parks being kind of in the back and kind of hidden away, I would love to see if you could take into account the lighting of the facility, which would help, whether that's, you know, wind generated or solar generated or whatever it may be. The more lighting, you know, downward facing lighting so it doesn't affect the living conditions, but really the lighting so that, you know, we can curb some of that activity through there. I think that would help a lot as well.
Thanks, that's good feedback, and we will work on that between now and final plat.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner?
Yeah, the chair asked if I was going to have a question. I was like, I'm debating. So I appreciate the questions and the answers and the resolution of all of my colleagues. They asked very thoughtful and timely questions that I'm grateful to have those things brought into the record. In reading through the packet, I just wanted to refamiliarize myself with some of the emails and public comment that we had gotten, and the public asked very similar questions. For my part, on the parking issue, given that this is TOD, I'm less concerned with parking at this site, and normally buses are a huge deal, but that it's half mile from the train station, I think there's an expectation that folks either are going to have home offices, small children, and or be using TOD, and maybe that would have less pressure on parking. There was one question from a resident that I didn't hear addressed in any of the comments, and I couldn't find a response in the packet. So if it's in here, please let me know. One of the neighboring property owners wrote in about electrification versus natural gas. And there is more of a movement to have electrification in moving towards maybe this is an architect question, you know, getting you closer to a LEED certified building or a green build or whatever classification system you're using. This ends up being one of the components and safer for a community. And so I'm just kind of curious if you can comment on intentions to head that way at this time.
Yes, I would be happy to address that. We too do see this as a movement, and as a company-wide, we are keeping our finger on the tab of the viability of rolling out all-electric communities. I would say, though, that we also are very sensitive to providing multiple energy sources and allowing the resident to decide which he or she would prefer. So at this point, we're not formally saying, yes, we would go all just electric. I'm sorry, all electric, no gas. Mm-hmm. But I would say that we also feel it's beneficial for residents to have their option, and that could be something that could be built in earlier on if, you know, they make a selection and build. Hopefully that answers that question.
It does. I mean, I think it'll be a community conversation we're having. It was just interesting to see it from a neighbor property owner.
And one quick thing, I don't know if this is allowed, but I do know potentially that respondent is involved with that industry. So just as a side note.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner O'Dorisio.
With that line of, I'm going to jump on that line of questions and just, I appreciate the fact that you're giving folks a choice. You could always turn the gas off and go with something else, but also making sure that the panels and stuff do allow for the greater capacity moving forward. I also would recommend from here on out, I'm going to say this to every developer, make sure that your garages are available with, to be able to charge cars. We are moving in that direction, and that for sure has momentum. So what I would hate to see is in a year from now, people having to pay another few $1,000s out of their pocket that they wish they'd have paid earlier on for that upgrade or whatever it takes. And I understand it costs, but we appreciate, because what we're also pushing for is the sustainability overall. And I think that over the course of the next few years, you're going to likely see us integrate that. But if you can help raise the bar and help us, that'll also help us move forward. And then you could be a key player at the table when we talk about codifying a lot of that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. I don't see anyone else. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this project? Seeing none, any additional discussion by the board? Okay, then I'll go ahead and accept a motion in a second.
Madam Chair, move to approve PRC 2021-00003 Berkeley Villas. That's approval with 13 findings of fact, 16 conditions, and 10 notes. And I just want a point of clarification. Does that include the additional condition that was added by the Planning Commission?
Yes, sir, it does. And it was 6 conditions. I believe you said 16.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I move for the approval with 13 findings of fact, 6 conditions, and 10 notes. Not the extra 10. Thank you.
Second.
And it passes 5-0. Thank you so much to the applicant and your team for being here.
I'm glad you said something, because I thought I was hearing things.
All right, nope, we have one more. We have Pioneer Pipeline.
We have a development agreement amendment, and our manager of planning and development, Jim Rutter, will present this item.
Welcome, Jen.
Good morning, Commissioners. Similar to last week, we have an amendment to a development agreement before you this morning. This one is the Pioneer Pipeline Development Agreement Amendment. So the request is an amendment to the development agreement to allow for phased construction of the pipeline. A little bit of background. The case RCU 2020-4 approved approximately 12.3 miles of produced water pipeline on September 1st, 2020. The development agreement associated with that case outlined the construction operational standards, including demonstrating permitting compliance. The proposed amendment would allow for that permitting compliance to be demonstrated for each segment prior to construction instead of for the entire pipeline at one time. Just to kind of show you where the parcels are that would be affected, it's all the ones highlighted in light blue. They are associated with a number of oil and gas facilities within unincorporated Adams County. And this is the associated segment map. This is the proposed, these are the proposed segments that they would like to construct in phases instead of through the entire thing at one time. So again, the request is to allow an amendment to the development agreement for the Pioneer Pipeline to allow for phased construction, and the specific language is below. Again, it's to allow for them to demonstrate permit compliance for each segment instead of the entire pipeline. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Jen. Questions from the board? None? I have a question. So does this extend the construction at all? Was there a timeline on construction for the line?
I don't believe so, but...
Okay.
No, there wasn't a timeline for construction of the line, just a timeline when they needed to start construction, which was this summer. Based on my conversations with Great Western, and they're here as well, it will not be extended past 2023.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board? All right. Is the applicant present, and would you like to make a presentation? Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Jamie Jost from Jost Energy Law here on behalf of Pioneer Water Pipeline, as acquired by Great Western. Susan Fajarzadeh was here. She unfortunately needed to go catch a flight, and so she wanted me to provide basically her thank you to the staff, to Christine and others for working with us on this amendment. I can confirm that the construction of the water pipeline will commence if this is approved today. They will start with the northern portion from Weld County to the Seltzer pad, which is in the northern portion of Adams County. There's about a 50-foot line, I guess I would say, that will go into Adams County as part of the first segment. And then Pioneer Water will continue on from there if this is approved. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but again, thank you very much for consideration of this amendment, and we appreciate your time.
Any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Tedesco.
I just had a quick question. In the pipeline segment name, right, is that basically in the order of which they're going to try to do?
So that's a great question, Commissioner. No, I do not believe it's in the order, but those are the pads that they will be connecting to. So I believe that they will be trying to come from north to south, but that could change when the timing of the produced water pipeline is necessary for the production from additional wells on those pads. So it's not in the segment order, but those would be the names tied to the actual pad names, I guess I would say.
And if I remember correctly in the previous, this is all going north up into Weld County, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else?
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone from the public? I think we're all staff here. Any additional discussion by the board? Okay, then I'll take a motion in a second.
Madam Chair, move to approve the amendment to the development agreement for the Pioneer Pipeline, which is under PLN 2022-00008 Pioneer Pipeline Development Agreement Amendment as presented. Do I need to read the quoted part into the record? Nope, it is in the record already. Thank you.
Second.
And the motion is approved 5-0. Thank you so much. Thank you to staff. All right, with no other business on the agenda, we are adjourned today at 11:16.